Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Miglen Evlogiev. I don't know if we met. Last year I was here, part of a panel, and today I'm actually a moderator of one. In the next hour and a half, we're going to be focused on AML, which does not stand for AI and ML, but for something else. I'm a cybersecurity expert, so I'm just learning new things. I'm usually part of Payhawk InfoSec team. I'm leading the information security there, and also I'm the president of the Cybersecurity Association. But here I will be joined by AML experts today from all angles, from service companies, regulators, and all sorts of businesses. Internationally, it's not only from Bulgaria, that's why we're speaking in English now. And the upcoming panels will actually cover quite a few things. For the next hour and a half, we're going to talk about key aspects in all sorts of solutions, fighting fraud and money laundering, including awareness, including procedures and things that you can do in your organizations. And it's a great thing because I don't know if you're familiar, October is actually the month of a cybersecurity awareness. So it's actually very good alignment. So we will start with a few presentations / lightning talks. And after that, we're going to continue with a panel. And as we go, you can actually ask questions. We're going to use the platform Slido. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you could simply Google Slido or type sli.do, and you'll be prompted with a window to type in a code for the event. The code is DigiPay. So slido.com DigiPay. And as the presentations are going, you can put the name of the presenter. So during the panel, we can ask them. There are already a ton of questions that you can upvote or new questions that you can vote for. I know that we don't have a large amount of time, so we're going to try to go top down and just go through all the questions that have been upvoted. Now, I would like to invite the first presenter, and that would be Tsvetelina Stoyanova. She's a director of financial intelligence from the National Security Agency, or as we call it here, TANS. Tsvetelina, welcome on stage.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity that the public sector will be able to be represented here. Actually, we had a slightly different information about the panel, and that is why I won't be able to stay until the end. Deputy Director Raina Hristova, Deputy Director of Financial Intelligence Department, also people from the audience know her well. This topic is quite broad. In the AML CFT field, we have to take into account a number of requirements imposed by EU regulation. Fourth, fifth directive, the new directive, which includes regulations and one directive, and also the FATF standard. It has recommendations and methodology. The country put in place different monitoring procedures as a national system, which has private and public sector, is subject to evaluation both by EU bodies, the European Commission, and the FATF as an international organization. I will share some positive impressions with you. Fighting actually in the field of AML, CFT, competent bodies and private operators have put in place different measures. So we have had 3 positive reports so far. We start with something which was not our first report, but it was covered broadly in our society. Moneyval report from May. according to which Bulgaria's rating based on 10 recommendations evaluated in the report for 2022 was improved to full compliance or high level of compliance. Previously it was partial compliance. This was the result of the efforts of different institutions. The draft law was drafted by a number of institutions, although also the private sector gave a number of recommendations and took part in the discussion of the reforms. Apart from this reform of this report, we've been discussing the grey list and a monitoring procedure for our country. As regards the procedure, it is very important that the reports of FATF are not public. They are highly confidential, and before publication nobody can disclose details. FATF, however, after each plenary session, when discussing such reports, announces public declarations about the states, about the countries. In February, when it was made a decision to include us in the list of countries with strategic weaknesses, FATF published 3 recommendations. One of them is recommendation 6, application of sanctions against terrorism. Recommendation 10, for due diligence, and recommendation 24, which is also very important because it concerns the transparency of the ownership of legal entities. The report, Bulgaria was not obliged to adopt the report at this early stage. Nevertheless, institutions and the private sector partners joined forces and discussed potential amendments to the law. The first regular report was adopted in June at the FATF session, and we saw that it addressed a number of other actions that are part of the action plan to be implemented to prove that strategic weaknesses have been addressed. Measures are in different areas. Some of them are for legal amendments, putting in place effective systems. They also concerns different fields of AML and CFT. Also, a third report will be adopted. It is currently discussed by the FATF and the stakeholders. It will be adopted in the week of 21st, 24th October. I will not disclose any details about this report for obvious reasons. This success has been the result of the efforts of institutions and the private sector, starting with the update of the risk update since the adoption of the first overall comprehensive analysis of virtual asset sector and the first in-depth analysis of CFT in the non-profit sector. In 2023, we adopted a very detailed strategy set up under Article 96. We have the honor to chair this body. So we managed to adopt a national strategy for AML CFT for the period 24-27. Immediately afterwards, we adopted an action plan which is very detailed, including 100 measures to reduce risks and 7 specific measures to reduce the share of grey economy, which is a factor which affects the level of other risks. This wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't supported an initiative of institutions to set up coordination council under Ordinance 101. It is headed by a deputy prime minister or another person designated by him, and it involves all key institutions and authorities. Referring to key institutions and authorities, I should say that these measures and the efficiency of the system, all supervisory bodies, the financial intelligence body, prosecution office, court, the registry agency, customs agency, the national tax authority, are all involved and are key authorities. As regards the EU legislation, we have to do a lot of work. I know that I found this topic is very interesting for you. I won't be able to share details about preliminary decisions made by institutions because we haven't made a decision who will be at the lead of the process. The practice which proved to be adequate is to have an interinstitutional working group bringing together different competent institutions with different experience. So we will set up such a working group, and it will review the package, the new requirements, and it will propose the best way to transpose the legislation. As regards the new AML body, it is being set up at the moment. We are going to appoint a management board of 5 people. A task force was set up at the level of the committee, and the first officials will be appointed soon. This agency will have 400 employees. This information is available online as well. So it is related to our need to improve the security of the system. We work hand in hand with other institutions. We have completed our work on drafting legal texts for targeted financial measures to combat mass destruction weapons. So there will be national measures in place in line with regulations and resolutions, UN resolutions. I will stop here. And if you have questions, I will be available to reply, because I will have to leave you, the forum earlier than the end. As Tsvetelina will leave us in a while, you have the floor for questions. Of course, it is always a good thing to hear that the National Security Agency has such commitments. This month, the Bulgarian Anti-Financial Money Crime Association was set up. It is a great initiative of the business and those stakeholders. Do we have questions? I don't see any questions so far. Thank you for being here.
Unfortunately or not, we're going to continue in English. To introduce the next presenter, that will be Chrystalla Kazara. She's an internal auditor, and she is actually leading the internal audit for the Human Resource Development Authority of Cyprus. I see that you're impatient to join us on the stage. Please welcome Chrystalla.
good afternoon. Mike? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Undeniably, the pandemic and the redirection of business operating models to remote working, which is here to stay, have increased fraud risk for organizations and created additional challenges. Therefore, it is vital that organizations implement a holistic fraud risk management framework for effectively preventing fraud and safeguarding future viability. Main elements of a fraud risk management framework consist of: first of all, we have governance. Corporate governance is the system by which companies are directed and controlled. Boards of directors are responsible for the governance of their companies by establishing basic board committees and exercising management oversight. Every company needs to have a clear organizational structure. The organizational structure indicates roles, responsibilities, clear reporting lines, and decision-making authority. It encourages transparency and accountability. In addition, an engaging, independent, and knowledgeable audit committee is also needed, which will work closely with the internal audit function and challenge management, ask questions, request from management to timely address all identified issues like weaknesses of internal controls or indications of fraud incidents. Fraud risk management program. Fraud professionals know that fraud risks cannot be ignored and actions are needed to adequately mitigate them. To combat the rising risks, organizations should address fraud strategically and take a proactive approach rather than a reactive one. This is where an effective fraud risk management program plays a crucial role. Principles-based guidance, like the Fraud Risk Management Guide developed by GOZO and ACFE, the GOZO Enterprise Risk Management Framework, and the GOZO Internal Control Framework, can help organizations develop a fraud risk management program which must address both internal and external fraud risks, such as ransomware, data breaches, identity theft, and the continuously evolving corruption schemes. Investing in a fraud risk management program will also assist organizations to enhance their resilience, the ability to anticipate and timely respond to change. Internal control system. These are the mechanisms, rules, and procedures implemented by an organization to guarantee the integrity of financial and accounting information, increase operational efficiency, promote accountability, and prevent fraud. When designing your internal control system, it is very important to involve the business early on. Speak with all your business functions about what they do and incorporate this into the system. Implemented internal controls must consist of preventive and detective activities such as authorization, documentation, reconciliation, physical checks, security, and segregation of duties. Your internal control system must be meticulously planned and highly effective. Therefore, it is important to be regularly reviewed and amended accordingly, at least annually, safeguarding in this way that it will always address your current risks. Next, we have internal audit function. The role of the internal audit function, as defined by IIA Global, is to provide independent assurance that an organization's risk management, governance, and internal control procedures are operating effectively. To be able to perform these tasks, internal audit functions must be independent, agile, hands-on, and adequately resourced, acting as trusted advisors to boards and senior management. However, threats to independence, limitation of resources, lack of talent and IT expertise, increase of remote work, leverage of technology, companies' resistance to change, and evolving risks and regulations are only some of the challenges which internal auditors currently face. To overcome these challenges, enhanced support from your audit committees and boards is required. Sounds like a lot of work to do, I think. But are these enough? What do you think? Will your fraud risk management framework be sustainable in the future? Many companies like Volkswagen, Toshiba, and Hertz have failed to mitigate their fraud risk. Is it because they did not have adequate internal control systems or any frameworks in place at all? From my consulting experience, I have seen organizations implementing the most advanced fraud risk management frameworks, having a good internal control system, invest in governance and technology, but still they fail to prevent fraud. All these organizations had one thing in common. They ignored the dynamics and the importance of ethical corporate cultures as a strong deterrent to fraud. An ethical business culture can be a source of competitive advantage to you as it is directly linked to fraud prevention and can actually help you in promoting high standards of business conduct and integrity. To safeguard the sustainability of your fraud risk management framework and succeed in preventing fraud, you need to embed an ethical corporate culture. Do we have any doctors in the audience? No, I don't think so. Okay. A doctor will tell you that we need to treat the illness and not the symptoms. An ethical corporate culture can actually help you to do that. Treat the illness. What is the illness? It's to identify the root causes of fraud and take appropriate measures. A culture where ethics are not a priority will create an environment where fraud can actually thrive. How can you change that? Actionable steps that you can take to help you foster an environment of integrity and accountability are the following. First of all, we have leadership commitment. Senior management must lead by example, demonstrate ethical behavior at all times, and set an ethical tone of how their employees should behave in the workplace. If employees witness their superiors not upholding high ethical standards, what they will do? They will just follow the same example. Then we have code of conduct. Develop a comprehensive code of conduct to outline the expected ethical standards and provide guidance on decision-making under various scenarios. Regularly review and update the code to reflect evolving ethical challenges. In addition, consider if it is better for your organization to develop unique codes of conduct for different groups in the organization. Ethical dilemmas faced by executives are likely different from those faced by employees at lower level. Ethical training and awareness. Conduct regular training programs and workshops to educate your employees about ethical principles, fraud prevention, and the importance of reporting suspicious activities. Encourage open communication and the reporting of concerns without fear of retaliation, of course. Robust internal controls. As we mentioned in the morning session, it is very important to implement and maintain strong internal controls, including segregation of duties, surprise audits, and regular monitoring of financial transactions. These steps reduce the opportunity for fraud and enhance detection capabilities. Next step is the whistleblower protection. Establish a confidential reporting mechanism like an anonymous platform or hotline to encourage your employees to report potential fraud or unethical behavior. Ensure compliance with the EU whistleblowing directive to protect whistleblowers and prevent retaliation. Trust me, you do not want to miss this kind of information. We have successfully implemented the whistleblower platform at the Human Resource Development Authority of Cyprus, and the number of reports we have received, as well as the kind of information, was amazing. And value-adding, of course. Rewards and recognition. Apply positive reinforcement by recognizing and rewarding employees who demonstrate ethical behavior and contribute to fraud prevention efforts. Ethical behavior must be a key element of your employee appraisal system. This will encourage a positive ethical climate and sustain your efforts. Next step is the continuous monitoring. The audit committee must regularly evaluate the organization's ethics efforts and examine whether its code and policies are adjusted as situations change. It must encourage open employee feedback, assess any misconduct incidents, and evaluate the effectiveness of the reporting mechanism. And last is a culture to fit your organization. If you want to be an ethically successful company, you may design a culture to fit your organization. For example, the online shoe company Zappos provides induction training to new employees with great emphasis on the company's culture. As soon as the training ends, employees are told that if they believe for some reason that they do not fit with Zappos culture, what happens? They can take €5,000 and just leave. Simple as that, no questions asked. And it really saves them from a lot of future troubles. As we have seen from the results of the report to the Nation survey, 43% of cases were detected because of tips received, and more than 50% of these tips came from employees, which indicates something very important about your employees. Your people are actually your most important asset. Do you want to succeed in embedding an ethical corporate culture as a strong deterrent of fraud? What you have to do is simple. Use your most important asset. Engage your people. Bring your people on board. And will definitely save you from being the next organization in the news, but for their own reasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chrystalla. I just wanted to remind that you could ask questions in Slido, slido.com, DIGI PAY. Okay. You could take your spot now. And at the end, you'll be able to participate in the panel where we'll go through the questions. Now, actually, there were so many things in your presentation that overlap with cybersecurity awareness and risk management there that I was so surprised to learn about them. The next presenter, it's quite known expert, well recognized in the Bulgarian banking sector. This is Tsvetelina. She is a country manager in Evlogiev, and she has over 15 years of leadership experience. Please welcome Tsanka on the stage.
To be here, pleasure to see so many friends, so many colleagues, and of course, probably for the beginning, as it is the end of the day, please, your hand up, your hand, then say bravo. I'm here to listen, to see, to be, and to be out of the office where I feel more secure. So, just to check the technique. Yes, about me, I'm a colleague of the banking sector who was very happy to service clients, to measure risk, to develop the banking sector. And a few years ago, I decided to jump and to get out of the beautiful offices of the bank and to join one startup and to see how we can enhance the cooperation between the banks and the startups by providing one very valuable service to the banks, the service which is bringing both customer experience, security, and also opportunity for digitalization. This is what Evrotrust brings to all our clients. So let us start with one question also from my side. what makes us as a people work together, what makes us love each other, what makes us work together and bring new things on the market. Of course, it is only one word. It is trust. Thinking from the years in the century, far years ago, and now it is just the trust that is making us moving together. So now, the challenge nowadays is how to make this trust to be as valuable and as clear in all the corners of our digital world. This is here online banking, this is the e-commerce, and this is also the remote work. As we don't see each other, we can't touch each other, we can't understand who is on the other side of the mobile phone, how we can be sure that it is really Tsanka who you are speaking to, how you can trust me, how we can trust our e-commerce partners or where we are starting to work. Yes, this is the trust in the digital world is not a fad, it is a long-lasting trend, and this is what we will have to think about every time when we think about digitalization. But trust is not just emotion. In fact, I know Gala from Raiffeisen Bank, where we used to work together, and I'm very happy to see her now here, and I trust her. She trusts me. But for the companies, what they do is they bring and they transfer trust into money. And yes, it is really now impacting the bottom line. What we can introduce as solutions in our services and our digital transformation brings money. And I'm sure that most of our partners, they can see that now, if you can really adapt a solution that brings trust into your digital services, you can do digital onboarding, you can sign contracts, and you can do different services. This is what we see for the last 4 or 5 years. Of course, the COVID, as we discussed earlier today, really empowers digitalization, but it didn't solve the problem about the trust. So, and this still is the biggest issue, not only from the business part, but also from the regulation, and it will continue to be. Because we are learning a new tools, we are trying to understand how to be sure who is on the other side of the device, but we still can't find the best solution. We have 2 big problems on the market, and this is identity theft, and this is data breach. In fact, this will continue to rise, and this will continue to be our main challenge. So it will not stop, it will just be part of our daily life. I think that as we discussed working on the offline world, the biggest problem was that some client will take the identity card of his wife and will bring other woman and pretend to the bank clerk that this is his life, or that you just change the check, you just try to use someone's else identity card. But here it will continue to be our issue now. So this is a real story about in 2023 that we have a passport photo of Jason Bohr who was really fake. Now we also have, thanks to artificial intelligence, deep fake of audio within 3 seconds. You can see that the fake voice is nearly the same as the real voice. And how we can think about how to bring trust of a community on a global scale. This will be our issue and continue. Why I chose to join Evrotrust? It is really, I'm sorry that I don't bring my identity card with me, but the first thing is that we have secure identity. This is ID document authentication and verification with artificial intelligence. Also, it is AML compliance, because the biggest problem of the banks and all the financial institutions are, okay, is your solution is just technique, or it is really compliant with the legal requirement and regulations, and Evrotrust is providing a solution which is legally compliant and is meeting all the regulation of EIDAS 2. Yes, as a qualified trust service provider, we are responsible for correctly identifying the customers, and this is the viability that Evrotrust brings. Unfortunately, it happens to me many times on Bulgarian markets that when we see our clients and when we go to present our services to the board of directors of Bulgarian banks and to other experts, they very often will say, oh, it can't be such a good solution. It can't be just an app that you can download free, that you can register, that you can use all your verification and you can sign. But we have the opportunity to be many times in the European Commission for Digitalization, where the solution that Evrotrust provided is ranked as one of the top 7 solutions on European market. And we have to be very proud that in Bulgaria we can build such a solution, and now it will be part of the EID wallet, and most of our experience will be integrated. So it is really a solution that you can be happy to use in your digitalization. Why? So first of all, it's about electronic identification. Every time when you want to onboard digitally your client, when you want to sign the contract, you have to be sure that it is really Tsanka on the other side of the device. And electronic identification, which is coming from the with the data that is meeting all the IML and KYC requirements, is really the first solution to your problems. The second thing is qualified electronic signature, because when you are sure that it is Tsanka on the other side of the device, applying for e-loan or opening bank account, the next thing is how to sign the contract. And we need to have the signature with the same value, legal value, as it is handwritten. And we are talking about the qualified electronic signature. And it is not some very difficult technique that you have to go to take it from somewhere. No, you can download it up and you have the device in your mobile phone, or you can have it in your e-banking, as our solution is really introduced also in different mobile banking solutions. And the last tool that you can use is e-delivery, to be sure that when you want to deliver the documents, it is with the same legal value as registered mail. Evrotrust offers a toolkit for digital transformation, and it is in full compliance with the anti-money laundering requirements, and it is driven by nature in order to meet all the requirements of the banking sector. We are not just a solution that offers technique or technology, we are legally driven to offer all the necessary requirements for digital transformation. And as I'm responsible and I have the pleasure to join Evrotrust at the early beginning, just here when you see 0, it is really very frightening when you went out of the beautiful banking office and you go into some very small, dirty place and you start to be part of a startup. So every time it is a 0, and you can see what we achieved for the last 5-6 years, and it is just the beginning of usage of our services. Yes, we have partners where we have nearly 90% of some of the processes digitalized. Yes, we have partners who are just at the beginning of the digital transformation. But when you have electronic identity, when you have qualified electronic service as a signature, and when you have opportunity to deliver qualified documents, you have the most important thing for your digital transformation. So for us, what I can mention is that to have legally compliant digital processes and to be sure that you don't bear additional risk, you need to have easy technology, which could be used by different generations from 18 to 88 years. You need to have the ability to build a new business processes, so to know how to use these tools in your processes. And as we discussed with some of the colleagues during the pauses. Now we can see that we will have bright new digital services and bright new digital processes based on what we can offer on the market. Yes, it is legally compliant with the, as we are a qualified trust service provider, also a national scheme, and we are bearing all the risk of wrong identity, something that other providers are not also doing. So, and the last thing is just the change management, to explain to all our clients, to you, to everyone, that you can have a really tool for digital transformation in full compliance with anti-money laundering requirements and easy to use for the clients. So this is Evlotrust, and thank you everyone for working with us, supporting us, and enjoying our services to your clients.
Thank you, Zanka. Please take your spot. Very impressive presentation. I'm also a Evlotrust user, so that hopefully should speak how safe and secure the service is. I would like to welcome the next presenter. The next presenter is the Director and Head of Digital and Risk Advisory for Baker Tilly Southeast Europe, someone with a ton of experience, 25 years, and also an Isaka Athens chapter. Anestis, please join us on the stage.
Hello. Can you hear me? Maybe not. Now it's better? Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm very happy to be here with a panel with great presenters to discuss about AML, financial crime, and see the role of AI on that. I'm sure you heard a lot about AI up to now, right? So many presentations, different topics. So we'll try to focus only on the few points which are specifically to AML, so not repeat everything that was discussed before. So we have an introduction about artificial intelligence. I'm sure we don't need to go through that right now. And the opportunities for AI in banking and fintech. And we will see some specific use cases, how AI can help specifically for anti-money laundering. And then some conclusion with trends and challenges. We have, I don't think this is the right slide. I'm sorry for that. I'm just checking the slides. I don't think it's the last version. Okay. We can start with that, yes. I would like to say a few things about Baker Tilly, first of all. Baker Tilly is in Bulgaria now for almost 20 years, I think, 20 years now. And part of Baker Tilly Southeast Europe. We are an audit and advisory firm, a global network of companies, operating as a one network in our region, in Southeast Europe, with 5 countries, and working on assurance, advisory, tax services. So we have a team which specializes on digital and risk advisory services. I have the honor to lead that and work together with the team for all our region, and also Bulgaria. About AI, I think we covered most of that right now. AI is coming in so many different areas, not only the financial service sector, but in all the industries. It gives us, there's something wrong with with the slides. Okay.
Just a few seconds.
Okay. So we're discussing about AI. The trend is there. It's happening, and we discussed before, I think Anastasia mentioned that this is for, okay, that's great, thank you. So we discussed, this is a few words about Baker Tilly, and going to AI. We discussed before that this is started from 2022. I think the AI technologies and the theory behind that, it's much older. It started from the late 50s, beginning of 60s, somewhere over there. There's a lot of theory and work behind that. In 22, we experienced mostly the Gen AI explosion and getting there with all the tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, and somehow the consumerization of that. I mean, getting to the end user, which can easily get access to the different tools and be able to interact with that and see how it is and what results we can do. But this also comes together with the evolution of machine learning, using all the data that companies collect, big data, and using them to train the models and be able to use machine learning for different use cases within many industries. We see the investments from many companies, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, embedded AI, we talked about that before. The spending is exploding. It's huge globally. The recent studies say that 91% of leading businesses invest in AI on an ongoing basis. And 42% of companies are using AI, and 32% of companies are exploring AI for the future. Talking about some quotes before and starting with that, it seems that everyone is thinking about that at least, and many people have started doing something about that. So the trend is there, and to be and stay competitive with, stay in line with your competition, let's say, it's something everyone needs to explore somehow. AI in the banking sector, it has many different implementations and what processes, let's say, in the banking industry and the financial services in general can have the applications around that. We have on the one hand the rising customer expectations, the new generations, the use of digital banking accelerates. The ecosystems also are disintermediating, it's a difficult word, traditional financial services. So we see that a lot. The traditional value chain is changing. So moving from and having access directly to the consumer with some services. And also we have the other trend, technology giants entering financial services. We've seen that with Apple, Google Pay, and other technology companies. And we see also a trend recently, such giants to come in the play with some AML solutions as well. Google has recently launched an AI AML solution. Oracle the same as well. So we see them getting more and more and utilizing the experience they have using with large data, AI, and so on, preparing and offering solutions in the AML space as well. In the banking sector, but not only, in financial services, the examples of using AI are a lot from all the perspectives, from the front office up to the back office. I think we mentioned a lot before, like smile to pay, facial scanning to initiate a transaction. Or the interesting part, micro expression analysis with virtual loan officers. Think about when you're going to apply for a loan, and the virtual assistant there can even analyze the expressions of your face and see how you react to certain phrases or questions or all that, and this can be considered for the score and the overall evaluation for providing a loan from the bank. This is already happening. Robots in branches, this is happening already in some of the banks, mostly in the East area, Asia Pacific, let's say. Biometrics to authenticate and authorize, and machine learning to detect fraud patterns and cybersecurity attacks on the back office side, on the risk side, the AML side, and so on. This is the topic of our discussion of our panel today. There are many use cases. This is one from North America, using AI on the risk management side to manage the risk profile, detecting, in order to be able to detect and prevent money laundering and enhance AML process. And also using analytics to detect fraud, and especially for credit card transactions. This is one example also with predictive analytics and different areas where a bank in North America is using that. But we see that and we experience that happening in many banks in Europe, in our region as well, and also globally. There are different challenges how to do that and how the financial institution is ready to go for this next step. I mean, the legacy systems they have, the different, the process implemented up to now. But this is happening already and needs to be considered from the financial institutions. Especially for anti-money laundering, AI can have an application in all these areas we see on the screen. Risk assessment using AI and using data both from the static data we collect from the customer and also some additional data like behavioral data, for example, for real-time monitoring of transactions. This can be not only the transactions the data we receive for a specific customer or a specific point in time or a period, but can be extended and sometimes use also data from external sources. So in this case, can help identify and increase the positive alerts produced from the systems. NLP, natural language processing for enhanced due diligence, transaction monitoring, risk scoring using predictive analytics as well, anomaly detection for the transactions using some not static criteria, but now using machine learning to be able to use all the data you collect plus additional data either on the behavioral side or external data sources and be able to identify these red flags that need to be investigated further. The overall idea is that some tasks that can be automated and use AI technology for that and increase somehow also the accuracy of that, these tools can be used and at the same time leave for the professionals in the banking sector a more advanced role so they can follow up with alerts, follow up with indications they have and see the next step for that. And already some benefits are recorded for the use of AI and AML solutions. We have some numbers on our screen coming from some recent studies. You can see the sources there. Reduction of false positive alerts, about 70%. Reduction in investigation time of a suspicious transaction, 80%. Increase in the number of detected suspicious transactions, about 5%. And potential global savings in AML alert optimization. The number is huge. I'm not sure about that, but it's 14 billion US dollars. The numbers are amazing, so the potential is there. Maybe this is coming from some early stages, so maybe the sample is not so high, but it seems that the potential is there. The implementation of AI technologies in the area of anti-money laundering can produce some significant results. Closing with some challenges, let's say. Of course, AI is not a silver bullet. We discussed before that you need to have a solid business case, a strategy, see how you adapt your processes around that. And a number of AI projects fail. We have a statistic here about 43% fail to deliver on their promise to the business. And there are different reasons for that. Usually, these are some the key factors considered as pitfalls for AI implementation. Poor data, we discussed about that before. Having the right quality data to use for machine learning models and to be able to use that for AI solutions. Talent and skills, I'm not sure if we talk about that a lot today, but we need the talent, we need the people to work on that, and either developing the solutions or after that, operating in an environment with all these tools in our hands, in their hands, to be able to produce the best results and optimize the process. Insufficient use cases. This is usually the key starting point, as we said before. So as we move on and we get more specific examples and use cases, how we can focus and implement AI solutions, this can be more mature and be able to implement it in a better way. Lack of business buy-in, we say that for every IT solution, I think, right? It's not only for AI, for AML, but again, it's a key factor. You need to persuade management to do that, although there's a huge hype around that right now. But sometimes could be a factor for failure. The rest, I think we covered that already. It's all about doing the, here we have a quick reference to the model we have in Baker-Tilly for the responsible use of AI framework. It's a model which can be used to assess an implementation and see how this is implemented and designed and implemented in different areas, considering also the different regulations and acts in place, for example, the AI Act of EU, and so on. It's built with a global mindset, in global background in mindset. So it works in the US, in Europe, so it covers different regulations. It's already been used in many countries with our teams to assess such solutions. So going back to, as a closing remark, let's say, AI is there. It's already offering some benefits in AML processes, systems, solutions that some banks already did the move going there. And I think it's a good opportunity. All the financial institutions can work on that, start with some use cases, and build some good examples to do the next step. And the overall objective, what is to optimize this AML process and be able to optimize the results and the level of compliance of the bank, of course, right? And minimize the risks for the financial institution. With this, I would like to thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anestis. You can have a seat. Yeah, lovely presentation on AI, ML, fighting AML. The last slide, actually, you said a couple of things that are like key for a successful implementation, but they were like so challenging. I think the AI is the easy bit nowadays, then hiring the best talent, introducing the best controls, fixing the tech stack, etc. Thank you for that. And now we are going to move to the next presenter. He's a founder of financial crime software. It's lovely that today we have so many representatives of businesses and startups that have been founded here and are fostering and improving our local community and presence across Europe and internationally. So Stoyan Lozanov, he's spent 7 years working and gathering experience on financial fraud prevention, and now he founded Omnio, financial fraud software. Stoyan, take your stage. Please welcome Stoyan.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes, I think so. Thank you very much for the warm invite to present to all of you. I'm not going to be as explanatory as my colleagues' fantastic presentations, especially the AI in financial services. I think it's a massive topic that definitely cannot be covered in like 10 minutes, if we can all agree with that, about that. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about money laundering that is hitting in plain sight, the red flags, what actually is and what people refer to. Is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody have been so negative so far, like anti-money laundering, and now you're like...
Yeah, I'm going to talk about money laundering.
A bit more positive.
Oh, yeah, that's not my
next
presentation.
One. You got to use the next...
Yep, almost. Not working.
No, they all...
Okay. Anyway.
Can we roll back Stoyan's presentation, please? Okay.
Okay.
Just this one.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of people refer to money laundering as, you know, the the gray sector. In reality, a lot of people imagine, you know, millions being laundered all the time.
It's a white tech. It's clean because it's laundered.
Exactly. And, you know, they imagine a lot of transactions and a lot of, you know, millions going through the financial services system. In reality, money laundering can be done by each and every one of us at specific stages. These are the usual 3 stages of money laundering in general, and everyone needs to understand that criminals in general nowadays have listened to what the FATF has done, have listened to what the banks have done, have read the policies and procedures of the international financial crime intelligence agencies, and they know how to circumvent this. So basically, it's sort of like the sanctions lists. The sanctions lists were great before they were public, and now that they are, all terrorists know that they're on them, right? So it's very redundant. And when we talk about money laundering, it's the same thing. You have very intelligent organized crime that is trying to circumvent all of this. And you know, the things that I've shown in placement, layering, and integration are just very small and very, I would say, line of how to do it, but there are a lot of other ways to wash the money. And usually, organized crime is not working in a very criminal manner, if I can say that. They're working with the usual businesses that you all use. It's restaurants, it's like high-risk businesses, you know, cash-intensive businesses. You have restaurants, you have the stores, you have car washes. Like, per se, if some of your customers within your financial institution uses a car wash more than 5 times a week or 5 times a week, he's either a cab driver or he mostly, you know, is laundering money. So you need to be cognizant of these things. And when we talk about setting preventive mechanisms around this, you need to recognize the fact that creating a robust anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing program means to understand the way that the criminals think, not only to abide by the regulation that you see. So in other cases, of course, we have money laundering with the more high-end stuff like real estate, high-end art, because it's very difficult to understand what the appraisal of the actual art is. And of course, luxury goods like cars and jewelry. And there was a specific case about a luxury good being sold, a racehorse, for 10 million. And for all we know, it was an actual money laundering case, and for all we know, the guy could have received a donkey. But in general, this is the way. It's not. It doesn't always scream criminal. It doesn't always scream irregular. It's just a part of everyday life, and you can all be a part of it, basically. So you need to be very cognizant on how you build your program. Another interesting case is NatWest Bank into a fine in 2021, where they were fined more than 260 million for a anti-money laundering failure because they failed to prevent a small jewelry store to deposit 365 million pounds for 5 years, including 700K in cash for a single day. So we can think about why this happened. In general, it's very simple. You know, you have an operations person and you have a compliance person, and you know, a melange of both within a big financial institution. Then you see this deposit and say, okay, let me check the financials of this company. And then you just go in and see that, oh, the company has made a significant amount over the past few years. It must be okay. Why would I, review it? Because we already, accepted a lot of money. And that leads me to the point, money laundering is almost never at the beginning. Money laundering develops over the years, and if you want to understand money laundering, you need to look at a broader pattern. In reality, someone should have simply said, okay, let's see the source of wealth and source of funds of this company. Let's have a due diligence on the products they're selling or the individuals that are buying these products. Well, nothing happened really. And 3 years later, we're still discussing this case because it's actually a very good example. Jewelry, in general, is a very good example for money launderers. I would say that, in my perspective, it's a bit old school, and there are much more modern ways to launder money. And I would say that one of my favorites is the money mules. So the money mule networks is something that very few people are discussing, and it's a massive, massive topic. It's probably one of the biggest issues when we talk about financial crime compliance. As you well know, most of you who are in the business of compliance, drug cartels in Mexico and all across the world use money mules to physically or online transfer their capital across state lines within the US, within Europe, and so on and so forth. Of course, a very decent preventive mechanism around this would be a fantastic transaction monitoring system, and like the colleague said, AI within the financial institutions that are servicing the financial system. In China alone, in 2020, there were 4,600 cases reported of money mules that we know of. So imagine I would multiply that by 20, and that would still not be enough. So the challenge is here, and the challenge is massive. There are very interesting ways to set preventive mechanisms around money mules, and I'll be very happy to discuss it further afterwards. But the key takeaways are this. Be cognizant of what happens with your customers, and the financial profile tells you most of the things that you need to know about the customer, even at the beginning. Another fantastic way to launder money is, of course, the new age crypto, online gaming, and trade-based money laundering. So I'm not going to go into the whole cryptocurrency thing because I think it's very understood, well understood by now. But when I talk about online gaming, I'm not talking about gambling. I'm talking about, per se, you remember the game when we were little, Counter-Strike, that you shoot the other person, and there is a store attached to this game, right? So when you go into the store, and if you're a terrorist or a 12-year-old, you can put a skin of the weapon that you're using for purchase. And if you're the 12-year-old, boom, you're a gaming designer or whatever. If you're a terrorist, though, someone has funded your business. That is terrorism, which is horrible. And there are not a lot of preventive mechanisms around this, and these examples are the new way of money laundering, and the most rational, in my opinion, to use. And of course, trade-based money laundering, something that is very difficult to understand. Over-invoicing, under-invoicing, fake trade deals, and so on and so forth. So the key red flags that I would implore all of you to look for is cash-intensive businesses with no inconsistent sales patterns, unusual interest in luxury goods, being them racehorses or NFTs or diamonds. Not that diamonds are wrong, it's the woman's best friend, as I wrote in the presentation, so be cognizant of that. Large sums of crypto. Again, cryptocurrency in itself is not bad. It's a store of value, and it's a very modern way to look at creating value within the financial services system. But being inconsistent crypto trader and trying to launder money is definitely something that you can see if you're a compliance officer. And of course, international transactions with no legitimate business purpose. That's, I think, doesn't require a lot of explanation. So, what have we learned today? Money laundering does not always scream criminal. It can be, most of the times, it's legitimate businesses that are simply putting some of the illicit capital within. Look deeper and ask questions, spot the inconsistencies. Biases do work in compliance. So spot the inconsistencies, create a robust program for financial crime prevention that is around abnormalities. It doesn't matter which abnormality is, you'll never capture money laundering at the beginning. That's just it. But you can aim to take it outside, you can stop it before it grows, basically. So yeah, thank you very much for joining the cleanup. And yeah, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Stoyan. Please have a seat. Now, a very, very interesting presentation. The next presenter is going to join us remotely. He is Filipo Martini. He's a global head of anti-fraud and finance solution at CRIF, and he's going to talk about structured data for fraud and AML prevention. Filipo, can you hear us?
What about you? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. You can start if you wish.
Yes, let me also share my presentation. So, first of all, thank you very much to allow me also to be remote. I would have loved to be there with you, but I had some personal issue to attend to. So, first of all, what I want to share with you just briefly is CRIF as a global company. We have been there, here and there, founded in Italy, and now with a global footprint. We are focused on data, our core business data, and how to extract the added value as much as we can from these data. Starting from there, starting actually from the financial services world, we have moved throughout various sectors and various ways also to improve those data. So now we are also in the consulting, in solutions, technology, and so on and so forth. I think that is one important background, because now I am heading this business unit for CRIF, focused on fraud prevention. Fraud is something that is obviously related to data, but it's something that, as we have also seen in other aspects of this conference, is also very much related to process. So we need to know very well what is going on, and not only the data that are present there. So what I would like to tell you here is just, I will go through some pieces of information. What I call this is data for thought, just because what I would like to share with you is that even if my focus is precisely on fraud prevention rather than anti-money laundering, really today what we have found is that these two words are colliding day in, day out. When we started this journey, these two words were very much apart. We could sense it internally and externally speaking with our customers, because we were focused on two completely different needs. On one side, with fraud, is something that you lose your money directly, you lose principal, you lose interest, you lose everything, because there is a fraudster, being a criminal organization, being a single person that is actively trying to rob you. On the other end, you have regulation, you have statutory regulation of local or international that are in place, and some banks especially, but in general, you are forced to use them, and you have not immediately a sense of losing money, because you could also have, unfortunately or fortunately, good customers on that. But these two words are colliding because of the criminal organization that are against, I would say, the common ground core system, because these organizations are both on one foot. They are definitely laundering money. We are talking about criminal organization with branches in the terrorism and say general big cartels and mafia-related organization, and on the other end, they are definitely spreading their branches on fraud and various kind of fraud to finance their businesses. So I would like to go through some of the trends that we have observed throughout Europe, throughout Western Europe, and then a small focus on Bulgaria, with some takeaways. So here you can see the major trends that we have seen with our clients and partners during 2023 and beginning of 2024. What you can see here is that there is, with the cross-transaction fraud, deepfake, and probably also a part of digital onboarding, you are not reaching the unauthorized fraudulent payments. This is a huge trend that has come up, I would say recently in this effect, because it has always been there, but now it's something that it has come through a lot, and we are talking about payments that are completely unknown by the person whose money belongs to at the very in the first place. So you have been hacked, your account is stolen, or something like that. Authorized fraudulent payments, on the other end, we are talking about something that you, quote unquote, willingly are doing because of a phishing attempt, or someone who was convinced of a good investment, or to transfer money for some cause, or so to buy some stuff. This is really related to the previous presentation of my fellow co-presenter of the money mule, because these authorized fraudulent payments 99% of time go to a mule account, because theoretically you have obligation to refund a customer if the fraud is discovered. But the problem is that when you discover that, that account would be empty. So there are criminal organizations that use this also way of attempting committing fraud. Account takeover fraud is very much related to that. We're talking about a fraud that can be related to the account takeover, like a hacking with an hacking mechanism, but more often than not, unfortunately, we're talking about an account takeover that is done, again, quote unquote, willingly by the final customer. Here we have many different, let's say, trends. Some of them are old, some of them are new, some of them are old with new techniques.
Filippo,
yes?
Apologies to interrupt, as we are a little bit short on time. What will be the conclusion? Because we would like to wrap up with a quick panel discussion.
I will definitely go as fast as I can. Thank you. So let me go rapidly to the other two slides and to the takeaways. So here we are talking about the trends on Western Europe, more on the product themselves. As usually, the main trends remains on consumer loan, especially if you sum it with the credit card and personal loan and buy now, pay later, you will see that the majority of fraud and also then the laundering of money will come from here, at least in transaction volumes, not in amounts of single operation. And a focus on Bulgaria, you have a split on the kind of fraud that we have investigated on the Bulgarian market, and you can see a trend that is more or less the same of the other part of Europe, with a huge chunk of fraud that is on the identity part, and then say the other part being on the credit fraud, and just the 10%, 11% on loan fraud. The key takeaways that I would like to say is, well, what I started to say, global and local trends are overlapping more and more. We don't see the differences that we were seeing 10 or 15 years ago between one country and the others, because of the criminal organizations that are basically multinational, like our companies. Criminal organizations, as I said before, are the ones who many times they fraud, and they also launder money. So that's the reason why AML and fraud prevention will go hand in hand more and more in the future. Then, what I also said, AI, deepfake, synthetic, offline fraud, what all of these have in common? At the very first glance, nothing, but the only way that we can fight effectively all of the frauds that are coming with all these methods is through an educational system of our customers, of our partners, and of the world that is around us. Thank you very much for listening, and happy to participate to the panel.
Thank you, Filipo, and thank you to everyone who is still here in the audience. You should really congratulate yourself, as Tsanka suggested. Now, I'm just going to go straight into the questions because I know we're a little bit overdue. So the first question would be towards Chrystalla. How can public awareness be raised about corruption, financial fraud, bribery, all these things, given the current low levels of understanding?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes. How can the public awareness be raised about corruption, financial fraud, and bribery, given the current low levels of understanding?
Okay.
Somebody, we could hear the mic, so somebody with a mic is actually handed on. Can you please turn it off?
Впрочем, Фабрис беше и той поставя въпроса, че очаквал да му дадем ресурси за...
Would that be possible?
За някакъв проект.
I think now it's okay.
Okay, I would start by saying that it's a good idea, and I'm a strong believer, let's say, of this, that to increase public awareness, okay, you have to start early. Start early. What does this mean? I mean, start, let's say, first of all, by maybe university age. And it's a good idea to try to educate, let's say, the young people, okay, so that they learn these concepts. I mean, you go to the university, you study accounting, what you learn. I've been also a university professor a couple of years ago for some years, and that's why I have also this knowledge and this opinion. So you go to the university, you study accounting, and you learn double and credit, how to draft the financial statements, and how to read financial statements, but you don't learn about, I mean, all the current topics like corruption and stuff like that. So a good idea is to start from the university or even earlier at school, if that's possible. Okay, check, I mean, the syllabus, try to think about current topics, the necessity to educate our young people so that they become familiar with these topics, change the syllabus, let's say, and give them the current knowledge. It's not difficult to learn the debit and credit, but it's more important if they learn about these topics, and at the same time, I mean, you educate them and they learn from an early age how to actually protect themselves, because at some point they will go out there, they will find a job, they will have bank accounts, so it's good if we start early.
Absolutely. There is so much overlap between cybersecurity and AML, it seems, especially in the area of awareness. So maybe, given the fact that we are in a cybersecurity awareness month, you could have an AML awareness month. Why not?
Yeah,
maybe,
definitely.
Maybe it could be a great idea.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, so I'll continue with the ladies because they've been on the stage for quite a while now. I would like to ask Tsanka, how fast are financial institutions in adapting opportunities of new technologies, especially around KYC?
Good question. In fact, digitalization is a strategic change. We are talking about strategic change. And here we can see different types of behavior. Some of the financial institutions are really first players on the market. They're quite innovative. Of course, they're quite conservative in terms of being sure that the most precious, as they say, their clients' data is really secured and they can rely on the provider. So as I showed in my presentation and from my experience, we see that they're really starting smart and small, then they build trust and they enhance the scope how to apply the new technology. So here I really very much appreciate people who are smart enough to start, but to start with on a small scale, so they can be sure that the new technologies about KYC are reliable, and also they're really bringing better customer experience, better customer data to the bank, and they really speed up the assessment of the risk assessment of the clients. So they start smart, I would say, are my favorite.
It's great if we could achieve balance between security and user experience. Sometimes that's very, very challenging problem. We all know how.
Yes.
The next question would be for Anestis. He ended his presentation on a very high note in terms of like what would be the challenges to implement a successful AI into combating AML. But I would like to ask, what role do the RegTech platforms play in combating money laundering, especially in today's world with everything that we have as models, as platforms, as AI, ML's capabilities?
Yeah, sure. RegTech, and especially if we're talking about the companies that are coming with a RegTech model, let's say operating model, and they are able to provide this fresh look, let's say, to a financial institution, being usually a startup or coming with an experience of a few years. They implement usually the latest technology, either AI, machine learning. They can even go to solutions like blockchain and so on. And they can facilitate the change needed in this area in a certain way. And depends also on the model that this is implemented. Could be a co-sourcing, outsourcing, managed services. I mean, this can operate it in a different way depending on the type of service selected. But overall, and we have examples that shows that it can have a positive impact on that.
And given the fact that there are more and more industry or international or national organizations like the Bulgarian recently founded RegTech association in the sector, what is your view on potentially maybe open sourcing or like communicating cross borders with such information? Would that be feasible, or this is purely something very heavily regulated where only enterprise businesses can enter and participate given the regulations?
That's feasible, yes. It can be, I mean, if we think about that, we all operate under a common EU framework and environment and regulation that we need to comply, at least at the EU level, of course, but why not globally? Because there are certain rules we follow from some sources which are applicable at the global level. So, especially for AML, I think collaboration is something that will facilitate the outcome, not be a hurdle for that.
Thank you. I wanted to continue with our last guest on the panel, and thank you for your patience and participation. There is a question for you, and what are the challenges and the best practices for conducting enhanced due diligence on potentially shell companies? And I have a follow-up question on top of that, because I have seen shell companies that are just like so recently made up, they're completely fake, but they're like, their file is so clean. Yeah. And it's so challenging to capture them because there's no record that they're, you know, planning to do malicious activities and money laundering. How can businesses do that?
So I would say that in the next 2 hours I wouldn't be able to cover that topic. We'll lose everyone. Yeah, we'll lose everyone, definitely. One of the key things that I would implore you to look for is the, of course, ultimate beneficial owner. You know, we all know the UBOs and so on and so forth. But don't only stop where, you know, just the 25% ownership stake. Go to the directors, go to the employees, go to all the other sub-companies that are within the shell company, because they need to have a media presence, right? They need to have a financial presence. Go above and beyond to review this. I would say that this is the surest thing, because either their social media presence is lacking all the time, and within enhanced due diligence you can see it. Either when you ask for a source of funds and source of wealth, when you start reviewing the goods or services that they're selling and the financial traffic that they're going through, you're going to find out that they're basically either illicit businesses or and it's not bad to use tax havens and stuff like that. I mean, it's legal, to be honest, but it's bad to abuse the system for illicit gains. I would say that.
Agreed, but in the digital world, it's very easy to fabricate absolutely everything from social media presence to great website with a lot of information, including their financial history. They could probably, with an API's digital systems and payments, generate a very large volumes on in and out transactions.
Yeah.
So that would be very, very challenging problem.
It would be very challenging. I remember from my personal experience, I used to review a bank statement of an Australian bank. And when I saw the statement, it was perfect. What I researched was the ABN number of the Australian bank, so that's the Australian business number within the statement. And as it turns out, it was the ABN of a different bank. So that's how I knew it was actually a forged document. So you definitely need a melange of everything, if I can use that word. You need adequate training, adequate knowledge of what actually shell companies are and what is illicit activity, because most often compliance officers do think, oh, that's a huge problem, that's a huge red flag. In reality, it may be something purely, perfectly legal, and we have the vice versa approach as well. So you definitely need seasoned, experienced compliance people to kind of create your compliance program in a way that you are both secure within the documentation that you're having and within the approach that you're reviewing this documentation with, I would say.
Fair play. Thank you for your patience, and I really apologize that we didn't have more time to talk about all the great questions that were submitted. I assume that you could potentially reach out to all the great presenters today via social media, LinkedIn, and ask your questions. Really appreciate your talks and presentations. It was really great to learn a little bit more from experts on the field, and we're going to continue without a break with the next panel, with the next discussion, because we're quite overdue and we would like to move forward. So I would like to invite our panelists. Please, a round of applause. Thank you. And the next panelists are going to talk about the battle between design and dev, shaping the future of digital payments. Ladies and gentlemen, Pavel Kaminsky, the co-founder of 7sec, is going to join the stage right after he wraps up his mic. Pavel is co-founder of 7 Security. He's actually a cybersecurity company, so I know him very well. Actually, we work together. So, yeah, Pavel, are you ready? And once again, thank you. Успех.
Не знам дали работи. Ето сега работи. Здравейте на всички.
Hello everyone. I believe there are still people alive. Come on, make some noise. Great. My name is Pavel Kaminsky, and I'm a founder and CEO of 7 Security, the first Bulgarian PCI accessor. We have a new format, DIGI Debate. I would like to have 2 unique persons for Bulgaria and have them called a contest, kind of. These 2 people have many points in common, but we have for a long time now had a debate, and I would like to get an answer on this stage. So first of all, I'd like to invite Tsvetelina Doskov. We call him Dossi. He participated in the development of certain solutions in almost all banks in Bulgaria. He's one of the leaders of the Bulgarian fintech system creation. And I would also like to invite Marina. Marina? Okay, great. So Marina is the founder of From Creative Solutions. I think that she has huge experience. To put it differently, she is a person that's maniac about design, beauty. There is some mantra that the design will save the world. I don't know. But let them introduce themselves, because I may miss something. Dossi. Even though at the end of this event, I believe that we will improve the mood. I'm Krasimir Doskov, and I'm Senior Vice President of CIRMA. I'm Marina. I deal with the design of digital worlds. I've been a designer since I was 3 years old. I love what I do. It's the meaning of my life. I develop all kinds of products, digital products. I'm sorry that I'm online. I'm at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, an iconic place. I wish every Bulgarian company to come here, particularly if they want to conquer global markets. I'm very happy that I'll be with you today, and I'll be talking about something I love best. This is my work. Actually, we will soon go to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. I believe she's checking all the setting on our behalf. It is like someone standing behind our backs. They are there behind our backs. So, dear gentlemen, we have been holding a very important debate for some time now. It's more popular than the debate of the runners for presidents in the US. So we're trying to find out which comes first, the egg, the hen, the idea, the inspiration, the seed, the plant. How should the products of the future look like? What should come first? Design, development. How a fintech app should be developed. This is something that we will try to understand today. Marina. Without any dispute, design comes first. Then you go with the development of a digital product, because all fintech products have their functions in their everyday life. That's why they should be properly designed so that they can provide best service to us. So there is nothing more important than the creative process and the first conceptual phase. I believe that Dossi has a different point of view on this topic. We have always wondered when we talk to customers, what is the item that sells most? Over the years, we believe that there has been a balance between selling something beautiful and selling something functional. So far, our strategy also a strategy for the future, has to do with creating and selling secure products to our clients. We're trying to focus on the functionalities of the respective solutions and what can facilitate your life. The design is important, but to us it is a consequence of what the customer wishes. Okay, but where is the borderline where this convenience, this UX and UI becomes threatening? It is difficult to set borderlines anywhere in our life nowadays. Borders are where they are accepted, or the borders are those that each client or company sets. In our work, in the process of delivery of a smart solution, we're trying to convince everybody involved in the implementation of this solution that it should balance the beauty with the functionality and security without going into any of the extremes. Some customers prefer to emphasize on beauty, which is quite natural. Others prefer security, which is also normal. But borderlines are difficult to set. This is a solution that the end user has a decision that the end user has to take. I know that you're trying to be foolproof or silliness proof. But I'd like to ask Marina, who will pay for the error of an old lady who makes an accidental click? Today we are talking about instant payments over the telephone. Let's imagine an old lady, he's clicking something, Face ID, and there is an instant payment that has been effected. Who should pay for that, Marina? What do you think? Well, I'd prefer to refer back to the previous topic and say that I disagree to a large extent with what Dossi said, because the customer should be in the center. We are those that should build a world that is beautiful and convenient for them. The technology that we use, the people that we implement financial solutions should be able to surmount these difficulties so that the experience should become even more seamless and even more fast. I understand what you're saying about the old lady, and that poor experience may lead to wrong transaction, and that experience has not been applicable or adequate to this target group, that it has not been in line with some physiological peculiarities such as vision or size of fingers related to an elderly person. But nevertheless, I believe that it's much more important for applications to be easy to use. They should be user-friendly, rather than cumbersome, slow, using all the meeting all the regulations and going through tens of meaningless screens only in order to abide by the regulations. Well, this lady has been listening to what was said during the previous panel. Yes, I have the same feeling. Okay, your product involved persons, you're aware of the products, you are very knowledgeable about them, you are not salespeople. So I asked I ask you directly, how do you use the data of the users in order to improve the design and the development stack? Where is the ethics? Where is this line, this demarcation line that is allowed to cross or not allowed to cross, and how is this regulated? Marina. We live in a world where design is not what it used to be. That is decision-making by a certain design team or design expert as to how a certain experience should be built. We live in a time when decisions are data-driven. That is, the consumers, they are collected or gathered from the feedback of consumers, and then it is modeled into a type of consumer experience. To me, it's very important and valuable to collect as much as possible feedback from people, to collect as much as possible data, so that we can be much closer to people and their needs. So, if this does not go beyond any moral or ethical boundaries, the more information we have from the customers, the better. Dossi? Matters seem much easier with us at first glance because we work mostly with summary data. We don't focus on personalized data. We use metrics in millions, sometimes in billions, because digital channels and core systems generate traffic, transactions that are billions per year, and these billions of transactions, the data of the individual information is not the focus. We're using this data only for benchmarks, and we're fine-tuning the systems through them, particularly regarding speed. Sometime we encounter certain challenges in this respect. So the personalized data is not a moral choice for us. When we're concerned with clients we work with, there are sufficient controls that such data will not be used except for the purposes that a client needs. Okay, we got this. Marina, in your area, how do you guarantee that the fintech personalization of the data is not at the expense of personal data? Are there certain limits or boundaries? You know that we live in the era of personalization, and whatever we do seeks to attain a single goal, to be as much individual as possible and to be fit to the nature and individuality of each customer. The mantra of each high-tech solution, regardless of whether it comes from a disruptive player or big bank, is that this solution is made for me. The end user says, this is made for me, it fits me, it becomes me as this jewelry, as this piece of jewelry fits me. So they have tried and created it in a way that's convenient and pleasant for me to use. So the collection and processing of data is very important. In any case, there is the informed consent of the respective party. There is research involved. There are special surveys that are made. But as you also know, each application that we touch become more or less similar to the social networks. Very individualized feed consistent with our needs, the needs of our target group. And that's the way we are moving. And the AI also works in this way. It works with sets of data. Yes, and the regulations, like the personal data regulation, also reflect this. But if I had asked the regulators, I would have asked the question, how the content, what would you do without a regulator? Probably you would have achieved even better results in the area of UX, UI, in the individualization. The development stack could have been absolutely different too. But I personally don't like regulations. Signature, electronic signature takes me several days. I have to, because I'm using Mac computer, I have to use all kinds of virtual pages. But I'd like to ask, are there cases where the regulation has made the product better from your perspective? There are many cases where the regulation supports, or at least provokes, the change of a product. And this change is to lead to two things. First, to meet the regulation, then to facilitate the life of the users to a certain extent. Before the session, I was talking with some colleagues on viruses, namely that they help an organism become better. Regulations also can improve software. Not always, of course. There are cases when there are limitations imposed. But regarding security, where I find some humor in what you say, in recent years, security has changed tremendously. Indeed, in many regulations, including in Bulgaria, that is, the regulations here are based on the idea that they should be implemented on paper. We start with certain simple documents, then we need to provide all kinds of certificates as users, depending on the situation. So I believe that regulations are still lagging behind the digitalization that we all dream about nowadays. So this fintech trend has also appeared in this context. A lot of things can be used there. As users, we have to start thinking in terms of the digital world being an ocean, and we should know only the simple rules in order to be able to swim in it. And everybody should be able to benefit from this ocean. It's long past the time when a core system, particularly in a bank, had everything. Nowadays, there are many satellite systems that allow end users to pass through electronic channels. Thus, a financial institution has a lot of convenience. And, of course, this has to involve security. There should be security. This should be mandatory, obligatory. There should be electronic signatures. But how this is integrated in the electronic channels boils down to establishing the balance. And I believe that in Bulgaria we have quite a few good examples in this respect, particularly including projects that were shared with this audience today. There are quite a few companies that are leaders in this type of solutions, and you can trust them. There are people that do this well. Marina.
The regulatory requirements, I must say I agree with Dossi, because it's a matter of good balance and a matter of good judgment how to structure apps and where is the border of applying regulation and protecting users in order to ensure the good environment in fintech. I like the metaphor of the ocean because I was thinking about the closing line and I wanted to say our work in as experts is to be like a lighthouse, somebody who shows the way, who gives the right navigation for everyone who wants to sail across the sea. We are those who show the way, who help materialize and make your dreams come true. I understand, but these are just general words, and I want to hear some concrete details. Can you give me some details, examples where convenience and design played a key role? The best balance and harmony can be found in more innovative solutions, because when it comes to bank products, I have gained a lot of experience there. We prefer classic or conventional experience, which makes it more difficult for users. There are a lot of security rules, authentication, verification, which is a bit burdensome, but developing new apps, especially payment apps, there is a good balance between this type of regulation, mandatory fields, mandatory information to be provided by users, and intuitive experience. Dossi, how about you? Can you give us an example from your practice, a project on the top of your head, where technology technology, sustainability, resilience, security work together and prove to be a key factor in the success of a fintech app or a banking app? There are a lot of examples while listening to Marina, while hearing your question. I remember that recently I had a problem with large transactions in a financial institution. I tried to contact them. I don't know whether you've tried to contact a financial institution recently. This is not a reproach to anyone, but for most financial institutions nowadays it's almost impossible to contact a person unless there is a life hack. Unless they want to sell something to you, then they will contact you. I really try to communicate with their chatbot, which was a disaster. Then we started exchanging emails. And I was really impressed that I received a notification saying you're a very important customer of ours and we will contact you within a week. I thought I was lost. And I was surprised when on Monday they called me and told me they read the email and it makes sense to them so this thing should change, and I thought, yes, it will change sometime in the future. But within 10 days, the system changed, and this really shocked me. So I was surprised by them. An app, a software app can easily be changed, which will result in a positive experience for everyone if we have good communication. People who keep in touch with the client, the customer, those who have to introduce changes to the app should also work together. Otherwise, there are numerous examples where something fancy that is in demand on the market because it is fancy as interface. On the other hand, something is in demand on the market because it is secure and it enables people to feel comfortable and protected, secure. Dossier forgets to say that one of the main trends of the fintech market is the development of the so-called digital assistants, which are the right hands in the use of digital products. So this is a step forward for a better experience, and this is something that will appear soon, emerge. Recently, a security company ordered a virtual assistant to explain how to be protected against attacks, and it explains all the products. Our task was to find a very good design of this assistant, a lady, for example, changing her hair. First it was blue, purple, green, with freckles and so on. We developed a system of a set of videos to explain their products, but in a nicer way. This is the future, it is coming. So we will have less contact with real people in call centers. This is the past already. What I noticed for the past 20-25 years, unfortunately, it's too long, I must say, is that a lot of the financial institutions, when they try to find the corporate design of a solution, do not take into account the target group of this solution. So basically they say we have a group standard, a group policy, and we stick to that. That's it. While a target group may have different requirements, different needs, so such an avatar with changing hair or different appearance is something interesting, but for other target audiences this may not be so interesting, so appealing. So we should be really aware of our customers. We should adapt our solutions according to the customer. So I strongly agree with you that design is the tool where we can fill the gaps and we can present them in a good way. So you see who won this dispute, who won the argument. So really he said so, and we should think about the customer. We should study the customer and we should adapt to the customer. Be very careful what you speak to women. And last question, we don't have much time. I want to have a fintech app. I want to have a fintech solution Shall I turn to Marina first, or shall I turn to Dosi first? And what questions shall I ask? How to put it together and not feel ashamed of myself when people come and discuss it here at this stage. I will say nothing because she will again attack me verbally. It is very important to be aware what market niche you are targeting and what problems you are targeting. The more we evolve, the more we speak about real personalized solutions using new models such as personalization, green models, green patterns. Accessibility standards, and apps that have one or two functionalities, but they are good, they are excellent. Rather, we don't need apps that are know-it-all, all-in-one applications. So first you should address a concrete problem, then you need an analysis of those people in the target group. It can be for adults with the relevant fonts, relevant pictures, images, and so on. If it is for Jay-Z, it should be with avatars, pop-up pictures, and so on. This will make them happy and it will keep them concentrated once the app is launched. Collect data, process data, what users like, what they find useful, implementing the feedback, fast change as soon as possible, 10 days, as Dosi said. And again, launching it on the market again. This agile method of work, this type of circular model of the life cycle. Testing on the market is very important. Dosi, you can use A1, A2, A3 if you want to say something. For us, it makes a big difference whether we cast solutions or whether we provide on the shelf solutions. So the question, what shall we do? 1, 2, 3, 4. It varies a lot indeed. I guess for the audience here, it will be interesting to learn that over the years the focus is more and more. As Marina said, it changes, and the time used for preparation, for refining the app, how they will use the app, increased a lot. In the past we focused more on how something will be done and how much time we'll spend on it. Now we spend our time 50-50 in delivery time. We may stick to step A7, we may focus more on testing in software, especially when it comes to software for end customers. Tests are already at the level of the space industry or the aviation industry, so there are so many tests. We focus a lot on tests. As far as I remember, in our standard plan for delivery, we have 7 or 8 stages of tests. Otherwise, the steps are quite simple, as Marina said: business requirements, analysis, development, deployment, testing. And you forgot to mention design. I started with design, but you didn't hear me. I see some tension because of the clock. Now recap. Obviously, the approach should be balanced. All these things are important. Thank you very much for this discussion, for this excellent discussion. I want to invite a dear person, Raya. She's the reason to have us here all. Thank you. This debate showed that it is very important, that what we do is very important. We work for secure, affordable, accessible digital payments, and thank you everyone. Please raise your hands. We are all here. Thank you for staying here until the end. I want to thank the partners, the cocktail parties ensured by IBS Bulgaria, who have been our partners from day one. Thank you. Bye. Marina, I love you. You are great. We love you too. I will drink your glass of wine. Cheers.